Right, so it's been a little while since we've done a deck tech video on Melody. We had the whole string of videos leading up to Melody's release, and then since then I've just been playing around with it, tweaking the deck. It's undergone a lot of changes and different iterations, and overall it's time for us to obviously have a more updated video on Melody's deck tech. So, starting off, we'll go over the equipment, because I know the Gambler's Gloves has confused a few people who see me playing the deck, right? The main purpose of the equipment, its number one goal is to cash out and generate silver. Okay, so everything we're running doesn't want a destroy effect, right? If it has a destroy effect, then it's no good because we're losing out on the silver, and the silver is so critical to Final Act. Now, Crown Dominion fits that beautifully. Right, it allows us to generate a gold token, which then fulfills the same concept of silver, but allows us to float resources, which is more fantastic, right? It allows us to float one resource that can then lead into a more of a neutral draw when it comes to Art of War, Cash In, or the Tome of Ferendale. So Crown Dominion to me is a must-have for Melody currently, right? Then we have Ferendale Spring Tunic, similar as well. If we get to turn 3, it allows us to float that resource, but still cash it out for silver, so it's perfect. Again, we don't want equipment that has, generate resource but destroy it, or block, destroy it, because then it's just useless in terms of cash out. And generating the silver is super impactful because this is a songless Melody, right? We're not generating copper whatsoever. We're not playing any of the songs. We're not even using Jinglewood, right? Because it's all too slow to actually make Melody a effective competitive deck. Not that she's a great competitive deck, but it's definitely better than playing songs and buffing your opponent. So again, Gambler's Glove is just there for the occasional brute matchup, right, against KO or Reiner, right? If they're doing rolly stuff, then we can sort of impede them. Otherwise, you can just take the null rune gloves. Any of the other gloves, again, they have the destruction effects, which means they're not useful for cash out. Now, Mage Master Boot, this is probably the debated option. So the reason I run Mage Master Boots is to make Tome of Ferendale have go again, right? Combo with the Tome of Ferendale, that can then lead into some of our other actions. We also have a lead the charge for the other one. So there are our two enablers. One starts on the board, so it's a guarantee. And then the other one we have to draw in with a tome. But there is the whole question of whether or not just getting the guaranteed one draw from a silver token is better than Mage Master Boots, and probably is, right? Because again, consistency is what we really want at the end of the day, and everything I'm doing with the deck is trying to make it more and more consistent. Now, in terms of the weapon, we're just taking Teleshare. You can swing with Teleshare up to twice, right? But then you don't want to pop it, you don't want to destroy it, because again, you want cash out. As for the arcane matchups, super simple. We just swap Teleshare to an Arcane Lantern. Fingers crossed, we get a one-handed weapon generic in heavy hitters, and then we can run 2 pieces, and that would just be perfect, right? 1 extra silver goes a long way. Boots, swap to Null Rune. Gloves, swap to Null Rune, and potentially even the chest can swap to Null Rune depending on, how much Arcane Barrier you need on the matchup. So I think for Briar, you only need like 2 to be effective, but then for Emperor, you probably want the full 4. So yeah, against Arcane, swap them out, and then everyone else, again, just run the Gambler's Gloves. There is just no better glove to use, right? Because even like the frontline set, which is a missed opportunity, I feel like that shouldn't have Blade Break, right? It should just be after 2 turns, it's useless. So the first round, you've got immense block because each piece is worth 2. Second round, each piece is worth 1. And after that, it's all useless. Having Blade Break on it feels a bit counterintuitive. But what can you do for now? Gambler Glove, right, is the best pick to me, or just running the Null Rune Gloves. Either way, it doesn't really make a difference, but they both have singular uses for specific matchups. Now, the concept of the deck, super simple. Play Final Act, right? Combo 2 Final Acts together and OTK your opponent. But it's the objective of getting to that and getting to that as soon as possible that we are striving for. So we have a lot of draw engines, right? And our main concept is just how can we thin out the deck as quick as possible so that when we go for Final Act, when we start popping all that silver and just drawing through our remainder cards, we have the best chance of, getting all the combo pieces and getting it off on that turn. So we have Golgarian Tome, right? It's an effective -1 to your deck. Art of War, 2, Cash In, 2, Tome of Ferendale. They are our main draw engines. Through all of them, plus the initial 4 draw, right, we can thin our deck down to 23 cards, which is quite good, right? So currently, you can think of it as a 2 in 23 chance, right? Because we have to pull both Final Acts to then go into the combo. Art of War is our enabler for the double hit, right? we can pick banish and attack to draw 2, and then also the go again, and then the second one could just be the extra damage, I suppose. But either way, this is our main enabler for Final Act. So I guess the main combo to actually consider is Final Act, Art of War, although Lead the Charge also does the job, right? So the next time you play a action card, they cost 1 or greater this turn, gain 1 action points, right? Final Act is 1 or greater, Tome is 1 or greater, so that's perfect. There is the option of swapping Lead the Charge to blue to make it more consistent, but then it only works off of cash in. So you have to play Lead the Charge with cash in, whereas right now with a yellow Lead the Charge, we can play it off Final Act, we can play it off of Tome, and Art of War as well as cash in, right? We can play it off almost anything we're going to do in a turn where we are drawing through our deck. Now, there are a few other draw options, right? So we have this round's on me, right? It's still a draw 1 card, meaning that we can still thin out our deck. The only downside is that we are giving our opponent that 1 extra card, and that 1 extra card can go a decent way in disrupting us. But again, all we're really trying to do is consistently thin out our deck as quick as possible to get the combo off as quick as possible. So you need to rationalize, right? How many turns do you reckon we can survive? Right, 1, 2, 3. Sure. Okay, then what is the best way for us to get to turn 3 with the thinnest deck so that we can go for the combo, right? It's definitely taking all the draw options. It's definitely taking, you know, some opt options, and it's probably taking cards that we can just burn. So Sift, right? It's just burnable, 0 cost. We don't actually have to trigger its effect. Defense reactions. Now, this is the point of contention for me, because this is all dependent on what your opponent does, right? If they're a deck that wants to set up and then go for a hard turn, or we're stuck with a bunch of defense reactions. Although I like that's all you got. It is very situational. It's yellow, and although I'd very much like to, you know, benefit from the draw a card, having a instant or having just an action where you can play and burn it actively rather than playing reactively is probably going to be the better option for Malady. So we are still, you know, tweaking the deck, refining it, but again, the main concept is just to thin out the deck as quick as possible, again through a Gorgonian Tome, Art of War, Cash In, and Tome of Ferendale, plus the initial 4 draw cards. Our deck becomes 23, right? You then chuck in 2 rounds on me, right? 21. You throw in the opt and make sure that you don't shuffle the deck, right? I is 2, and then that's another 6. So if you're not finding the combo piece, you can get rid of all 6 cards. We go from 21 to 15. And then you know, chance like Snatch, Pursuit of Knowledge, Nourishing Emptiness, and we can continue to really thin out our deck. Plus, then the Silver of Cash Out. Again, this is really important, the backbone of the deck, if you will. Crown, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Silver just off of our equipment. If we can get any of the amulets onto board, then that's just extra. But even at 5, right, we're at 11 cards, right? With the opt, if you, again, get all the best rolls of the opt, with the 5 silver, that brings it down to 6. So you have a 2 in 6 chance to pull the combo off. Again, it's just about trying to line things up and then really just trying your luck, right? This is a bingo. This is a luck-based deck. It's just for the fun. There is no way to make it consistent, not with the tempo, at least, of Blitz. All you can do is do your best to get the odds as high as possible, again, through shaping the deck, through being able to burn cards, draw cards, and then try and go for the combo. So usually, personally, I used to like going second, right, and playing reactively, using your defense reactions, using these cards to burn, and then still draw back. I think first is definitely better, and I think I'm going to take a more proactive version of the deck. So swapping out a lot of, say, the defense reactions for instants, right? That you can just play, you can just burn whenever you want, whenever you draw them, and just letting damage come in and hoping that you can then, you know, maybe go turn 2 even and just try your luck, right? Again, it is just going to be a luck-based deck. There are, you know, more defensive options you can take to try and prolong it, but you're really fighting a losing battle, I've found, right? The further away I've gotten from just trying to high roll, the worse the deck has performed, at least to me. But yeah, okay, option-wise, right? So Remembrance and Encore, this is the first sort of, well, which is better sort of, you know, conversation. If I could spell Encore, right? No H, right? Yeah, so Encore, return a Bard action card from your graveyard to your hand, but it costs 1. Okay, so this allows you to then go Final Act, or Final Act Encore, recycle Final Act, and then play it again. So you now have 3 cards you can draw into, again, changing those odds from, you know, 2 and whatever to 3 and whatever, but you only need to draw 2 of them. Again, you can do the math, but that is statistically better. Now, Remembrance is a little bit different, right? Because it doesn't put it in your hand, but does let you shuffle up to 3 action cards. So my big spiel on why I like Remembrance more than Encore. A, that's 0 cost. B, you can burn it whenever you want, right? And the return 3 cards. If you were to return, say, Cash In or Art of War, right? Not so much Tome because it doesn't have that built-in, go again function. But if you were to return any of these draw engines, you can then use them to redraw cards, and you can get that pull chance for your combo down more and more. Of course, there are multitude of ways to brick, right? If you draw in the wrong sequence, it can really mess stuff up. So it is definitely a hard deck in its current iteration. I hope we do get some support for Melody, right? Because it is a fun deck from my perspective. Again, heavy hitters is looking promising. Starting Stake is fantastic, right? You can pop the gold token off Crown just to draw and again start thinning out your deck, and then go back into Starting Stake. Because the other thing I like to do is you don't have to go for all the draw on the same turn, right? You can play these cards whenever to thin out your deck. The only piece you need to keep is 1 Art of War. 1 Art of War enables your 2 Final Acts together, but everything else you don't need to keep, because again, the main way you're building up your pitch so you can power up Final Act is off the silver. So you want to just use draw whenever you can to thin out your deck. Find Cash Out, use Cash Out. If against Arcane, you have to hold on to it and you have to go for the combo on the same turn, basically. Although you can still, lose to instant speed Arcane damage. So it is definitely a tough thing with Cash Out. It is not a great solution against the Arcane matchups, but generally speaking, you want to draw, you want to find Cash Out, you want Cash Out, and then the following turn, you just want to roll the dice, right? You just want to burn all the silver and try your luck to actually get Final Act off. Now, having the draw there is useful, okay? Because it does, enable you to look for cards, right? Only having 5 silver only gets you 5 chances of pulling cards. Having the extra draw on that side, right, does help, because you can definitely pivot. You can stop drawing and you can rationalize, well, I haven't found it yet, so I'm probably better waiting 1 extra turn, right? And then, of course, we have the amulets. So the amulets, to me, this is another sort of tough decision, because I'm so tempted to run Knick-Knack Bric-a-Brac, right? Because what this does is it effectively makes playing any amulet through Knick-Knack Bric-a-Brac a -2 to your deck, right? Because you play Knick-Knack Bric-a-Brac and you find an amulet and you lose both Knick-Knack Bric-a-Brac as well as the amulet, right? So you are, in a sense, drawing in the way of burning cards from your deck. The only downside is it's red, and once you get to the stage where you want to play Final Act, you want predominantly blue cards, right? Because blue is how you keep the silver chain going, right? You really want blue cards. The reason we don't run copper is because of that 4 cost, even with blue, becomes a bit of a hurdle. You throw in the yellows and the occasional reds, and it can just completely break the deck. At least, again, with some of the other options, you have ways of floating resources. So playing Art of War allows you to float 2 resources off of blue. That can then carry over into some of the other draw cards, or enable a silver play off of something other than blue, right? So it is all about sequencing and making sure that things are neutral draws. So Art of War again, right? You have the banish, you have the pitch, and then you have Art of War itself. So theoretically, it's a loss of 3 cards, right? But if you're floating resources, you can make it a loss of 2 cards. Since you draw 2 back, it's now even. Cash In is a great enabler, right? Because it allows you to float those resources. So again, think of it as a possible 3, right? Cash In plus 2 cards to actually pay for it. To draw 2 back, you're losing 1 card from hand. But if you were to play it off of silver or gold, right, it now gets you 2 cards and becomes a +1 in draw, meaning that you then have the extra resources for the other draw engines. And it's really important to rationalize that, right? How many cards left in my deck? Do I need to use Cash In as a draw or as a equalizer to these cards so that they're no longer minus in my hand size, right? You want everything to be positive in terms of drawing, or at least as close as possible, neutral or positive. So I do think it is important to maintain cards like this rounds on me, but I do want to cut out the defense reactions and go for a more aggressive, just try and burn as many cards. Because again, if you can get rid of all 4 cards turn 1, right, then you can just draw through another 4 cards, and that's fantastic. So let's look at some of the other options we have. Rifting is a great attack, right? Because if it hits, your next non-attack action this turn, it becomes instant, and that can be super powerful, plus it's 2 cost. So you're most likely floating 1 off of it, because again, we're a blue heavy deck. So this into a tome would be fantastic. And overall, I think it's a bit more of a consensus for your opponent to have to block it with the expectation that whatever you're going to play off of it could be really bad. And again, that prolongs your survival. I think being more aggressive in attacks rather than trying to hold on to defensive cards, right, like unmovable, or that's all you got, is definitely the better option, right? Thin out their hand because you don't really have any other way to affect their hand, right, to disrupt their plays. So I do want to swap in Oasis, Respite, and Peace of Mind, and Rifting, some of these other cards where you can play them, burn them, at least you're gaining a little bit back, right? But at the end of the day, they are just there to be burnt from your hand. Because again, we're just trying to speed through and get Final Act off as quick as possible. The other option is Imperial Ledger to generate another gold. It is a little slow, right? Because the turn you played out, you lose that turn, right? So it is a good way to end a turn. And then the fact that you get the gold token would be great, but it's a 2-turn card at a minimum, right? Got to play it. Next turn you have to activate it, and then the turn after that you can benefit from it. So that's probably what's holding me back from actually utilizing it. Knick Knack Brick Brack is similar because it doesn't have go again, but I do like the idea of that it burns 2 cards. Encore, again, I think Remembrance is just a little bit quicker, a little bit more versatile, right? Again, you can just burn it whenever you want. It doesn't have a resource cost. Starting Sake, I can't wait for this to be a reality, right? It just seems super good in Melody. You draw into it, just burn your gold, play it again, burn your gold, play it again, right? Fantastic. It's literally a song with no downside, right? You generate a better token, 0 cost, and you don't give your opponent squat. It's fantastic. Oasis Respite, Peace of Mind, right? I think I'm just going to replace the defense reactions with. And then I was thinking about some potions, but I don't want to flood the deck with too many items, right? I think I run 6 or 4. I think I cut it down to 4. Yeah, 2 Talismans of Cremation and 2 Amulets of Haven Call. I went for amulets that don't have any upside if your opponent was to take them, right? But I think having too many is definitely bad because you want the attack actions for Art of War. It's another reason to stick Rifting in. Reinforce the Line, the fact that it's instant and the fact that we're running a lot of attack actions, it does make it pretty decent, right? Again, we're losing our overall block, but gaining the upside of being able to burn cards. Sigil of Solace, I think, is also a no-brainer to just be able to burn, right? The 1 life is also nice. Snag. Now, Snag is a card I should have looked into. So attack action cards can't gain extra power, right, from their own effects or the effects of attack reactions this turn. This only affects that would be gained after Snag has resolved. So I assume you just play Snag straight away, because that makes it sound like it doesn't reduce the damage sort of... what's the trap from Riptide that I love in China? I can't remember. But yeah, so you have to play it first, but again, it's instant, and I think taking all the instants are significantly better. Now, Warmongers, I don't like, because it can heavily disrupt you, because you can't then go from, burning silver and all that and drawing to then attacking. So it automatically delays you by 1 turn, so you're not really getting any upside from your opponent, unless you were to play it, say, turn 1. So I don't like Warmongers overall. And yeah, overall, I just want to go for a quicker style of deck. So I'm not gonna delete the cards, right? I'll put them in the maybe section, because again, the link to this deck will be in any video that features Melody, and you can sort of play around with it yourself. But I will slot in some of these other cards and try to go for a bit more of a quicker setup. Right, so here's the iteration I'll probably be running for a little while, right? So again, the main concept is to draw and play as many cards as quickly as possible, right? By turn 2, if you can play all 8 cards, it's -8 from your deck, and then the draw options amount to like 17, so that's 25, so that leaves you 15 cards, 5 for the silver, that leaves you 10 cards, then throw in the opt, and it looks like there are, fairly decent odds that you can get the combo off fairly quickly, right? And each round you can survive further than like turn 2 is just going to increase those odds. So that seems to be the game plan that I want to go with, at the very least. Again, you can take more defensive options and you can try and stall out your opponent, but it just seems like that's not the go-to in Blitz, right? We're just going all in on the luck base, so to speak. Now, pick a card. This is another great addition, I think. So look at your target opponent card, and then if that card is revealed, you get a silver token. You get to repeat it 3 times. So this is anywhere from 0 to 3 silver, right? I think the upside to it makes it definitely worthwhile. Now, the blue one, I don't think is worthwhile, Again, you'd have to play it when your opponent has 1 or maybe even 2 cards, and then you get 1 silver token. But I think just burning the red is very valuable. Again, we're trying to mainly have blue, so 27 to 8 and 4. So again, over 50% of our deck is blue to try and make it consistent. And a lot of the cards that aren't blue are the cards we want to play and get out of the way, right? Even if we were to draw into pick a card, we could potentially play it. And if we even generate 1 silver off it, I think that's worthwhile, right? If you generate 2, then that goes significantly further, because that then allows you to play cash in, off the silver cost, right? And then you're back to neutral cards. Again, the main concept is to think about how can I turn this draw or this card that I'm playing into neutral draw using the other cards in conjunction. Now, there is also the question of another lead the charge potentially, right, to make the 2 tomes a bit easier, as well as then being able to cash in Mage Master. But I think I'll keep it as is for now, because I like the fact that, again, Mage Masters are on board, so they're consistent to allow us to play a tome and go into something else. So even if it's, you know, play a tome, turn 1, turn 2, and then when we go for the combo, play the other tome with Mage Master, or even something like that, I think is worthwhile. Now, we cut out all the defense reactions for instant cards, so that we can play them whenever we draw them, right? Whether they have a big impact or not. Again, I feel like it's just about burning cards and getting the combo off as quick as possible. Sift is an interesting one. I think this is closest to the chopping block. While it is a block 3, it is also then a burner card. It's nice that you can then get rid of 2 cards and draw 2, right? So it's effectively opt from your hand. Combo that with Whispers and the Eye. And again, we can definitely cycle through our deck if we get stuff in the right sequence. Now, I did also take out 1 cash out. It's a tough call, because I think cash out is definitely integral, right? It is the big main card that you have to find before the combo. So, you know what, no, I was wrong. You should definitely run 2. Yeah. Because it's still blue either way, right? And it's 0 cost, you can burn it either way. Yeah, no, you should run 2. I just didn't want to cut another amulet, right? Because 3 in 40 cards is already so minuscule to have a sizable effect on cash out, right? Ideally, you want to draw the talismans first. So I would almost like to run 6 as opposed to what I am running, and then cut out some of the other cards. And that way, again, if you draw into them for the combo, they're still blue, so that's fine. Otherwise, you can, you know, get as many on field as possible to then cash out. But anyway, this is going to be the deck for a little bit. Well, my God, I have to... What card to cut? I guess a Sift, right? All the attack actions, while they're there for Art of War, again, we're trying to get this done quickly, so I don't know how effective they're going to be. Maybe a This Round's on Me is what we cut, or a Snag even. Again, it's just the whole idea of how long are you actually going to effectively last, and that's really what should shape the deck, right? And how many defensive options you take and how many attack options you take, because we're not playing all the attack options. If we find Pursuit of Knowledge, you know, turn 1, fantastic. It's kind of why I got rid of Nourishing Emptiness, other way around, right? Because unless you find it straight away, it's just a useless card. It's then red and it bogs down the combo. So I don't think the risk is worth the slight upside unless you get it straight away. So I think we will cut probably a Sift, right? And this is our deck as of current. Anyway, I hope that is, you know, a decent job of explaining the goals of the deck and how to utilize it. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.